Welcome back to another episode of Boom or Bust, your home for NFL Draft Talk. I'm your host, Terry, and today doing a draft recap for the AFC East. Once again, not doing any grades. Grades come 3 years after the people were drafted and had a chance to play. And not going to go through every pick, going to pick out the ones that I think are worth talking about. So let's start off with the Buffalo Bills. And so with their first pick, they take Ed Oliver out of Houston in the top 10. Was not a fan of this pick. Ed Oliver, I mean, I could see some of the things people are excited about. But for me, overall, I just don't see the technique there. I see a guy with some good athletic twitch, but that's about it. I see him stick on blocks way too long. And some people like to see the highlights where he's explosive and he makes a play. But if you actually watch tape and watch the long extended plays, there's too many times where he's just not doing anything. And he's got a huge motor and all that's nice. And I think that you could find a way to mold him. And I'm not really a stickler on length. I know some people like, he's too short. He'll never make it. Look, some of the best players on the D-line were a lot smaller than people actually think they were. So, I'm all down for being, not as long and having leverage and still being able to get, the job done. Aaron Donald's not long at all either. And so I just think that if you're talking about a top 10 pick, I want a guy that's a little more polished than Ed Oliver is, at least at that position, because this isn't a receiver where you can just run past people. As defensive linemen, more times than not, guys with good technique are going to trump your explosiveness. So, I'll be interested to see what he can do. I know they're getting a lot of younger defenders on that Buffalo, defense, and he'll be hungry, but I just don't know if I would have got him at this pick in the draft. So then Cody Ford, they list him as a guard, I believe. Really doesn't matter. We'll see where they end up putting him. I really like Cody Ford. I do think he could play right tackle, but he'll be a good guard as well. Really solid offensive lineman. I think he'll fit in nicely as Buffalo's kind of retooling that line. So I think he'll have a shot at starting. Devin Singletary is a really interesting back. His running mate White ended up going to my Chicago Bears. So they both were very interesting backs. Definitely has some dynamic running styles and some catchability and run after catchability. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, just because people are taking a lot of backs, and we'll kind of talk about that a little later. And it seems like, they're a dime a dozen, as we all know, and the shelf life is not long. But it seems like every year people are getting back. So I think he'll definitely be a change of pace guy to start off with. I wouldn't call him a bell cow. Dawson Knox out of Ole Miss didn't get a whole lot of looks because, playing with DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, those guys. But I think he's a really good tight end, and he's not Evan Ingram as far as an athlete, but they did use him in a similar way. And I feel like I'm reminded of Evan a little bit with the ability to go up and attack the ball. He's got more of a catch radius. Evan has more explosion. But Dawson Knox, I think, could end up being a lot better in the NFL than he was in college. Vosean Joseph was a guy I really liked. Reminds me kind of I forgot his name. I want to say it was Baker that came out of Ohio State last year. But, he's not big as a typical linebacker, but he's tough. He's fast. He could cover. And so it shocks me that he went this low. I know, like I say, he's not as big, but you look at guys like Devin White and all those guys, they're big and they can run, but they don't have anything else. And I think Vosean has the total package. So I think that's a good get. Him and Edmonds could be a real good dynamic duo. And Jaquan out of Miami. Like I said, the whole Miami squad kind of got drafted. That was another solid pick. They list him at safety. I think all those guys, people were kind of wondering where they were going to play him at, either, a nickel or a safety or try to move in the corner. But he'll be a solid safety as well. So for Buffalo, I mean, they got a number of picks that I like. and they're on the rise. So a lot of these young guys are going to have chances to kind of crack those starting lineups and contribute right away. So I really like this draft overall, and we'll see what kind of becomes of Ed Oliver. All right, so moving down to the Miami Dolphins. We start off number 1 pick with Christian Wilkins. And you know what? I really like Christian Wilkins. I was shocked he got as much hype as he did because he's not the biggest dude. And speaking of Ed Oliver, and so he's not the longest dude either. So I was wondering if people were going to try to tag him with that he doesn't have a position in the NFL. And I think some people do, but for the most part, people seem to think that he could play all over the D-line. I don't know if that's true, but I do think he can play multiple positions in multiple fronts like he was able to do at Clemson. But I don't think he'll be on the edge or anything like he was in Clemson. So he's a hard worker. Got a little bit of a weird past, as we all remember. But I'll be interested. I think he's going to end up being just a really good player. I don't know if he'll ever become like the Gerald McCoy or Aaron Donald or, type of player. I just think he'll be real solid throughout his career. Then you go down to the 3rd round, Michael Dieter. They list him as a guard. Now, this guy's played all 5 positions. Real tough. I mean, he doesn't have any great athletic ability, so that kind of took him out of the idea of being a tackle, because usually guys that have been on all 5 positions are really coveted. But Dieter, you could see that he's not built to be a tackle. So I think he'll just be an interior lineman, but it's still a guy that can play any 3 of those positions and is used to really moving people off the ball. So I think that's a nice pick. Isaiah Prince out of Ohio State. I was shocked he went to the 6th round, and I knew people didn't like him as much as I did, but for me personally, he was my 3rd best tackle, and he has the look, and I see some people like, yeah, he has the look, but doesn't have the technique, and I disagree with that. He's super long, and I think he knows how to use that length. He's had good reps at Ohio State. He wasn't like a Johnny-come-lately. I mean, you watch him against Rashawn Gary and some of the other top players, and he held his own. I mean, he's a right tackle, don't get me wrong. He's not going to be the most athletic, but I think he definitely handled people a lot better than he got credit for. And so for me, I think that's a huge get. And I do think he would eventually step in to either provide a push this year or eventually be a starter in his next year. But that was a player that I was really hoping the Bears end up picking up. And then Myles Gaskin was a real crowd favorite. I'm shocked to see him go to 7th round, especially seeing some of these running backs go early. But, people still have those questions about how he can hold up in the NFL. But again, I mean, at this point, I don't, take the flyer in the 7th round. That's a great pick for me. But at this point, I don't understand what all this talk about, can a running back do this? Who cares? They're a dime a dozen. You can see there's the number of backs Miami has went through. They picked up 2 running backs in this draft. All these teams that you look at in the draft picked up running backs. They come out every year. You can get them in any round. Just take them and see what's going to happen. Now, I'm not sure why they took 2 running backs for Miami, but I'm just saying with Myles Gaskin, I don't mind that flyer because I think he was more of a leader for that Washington offense. So overall, pretty solid draft. You can tell that they are looking to really revamp that run game on the Miami offense. And then Christian Wilkins is kind of going to be part of that young group that's trying to restart the Miami defense as some of those older guys have moved on. All right, so going down to the champs, the New England Patriots. We start off with N'Keal Harry in the 1st round. Interesting pick to me. None of these receivers wowed me. N'Keal Harry, I didn't have anything against, but I wasn't really impressed by him. I put him lumped in with a lot of these other receivers, but I am shocked that with DK Metcalf on the board, the Patriots didn't go there. And so I would tend to believe it's because Harry's experience in the slot and the way he was used, especially with Gronk now moving on. But I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the Patriots are up to and how they plan on using him or why they felt he was better than other guys. But it was interesting. But it was interesting that DK fell as far as he did anyway. It wasn't just the Patriots that passed him. So N'Keal Harry, I don't think he has great speed. I mean, he's got that 50-50 ball type stuff. He definitely understands how to rebound the ball, as they say, and shield himself. So they could use him like a tight end, basically. Not a traditional one, but a big slot. So it'll be interesting to see. Joanne Williams got a lot of push coming into the draft. A lot of people thought he might go first round, another long corner. I think New England has always done well, at least getting their secondary in position to contribute. So I think that'll be a nice fit for him. Chase Winovich, that's a Patriots type guy. Oh my God, that's a Patriots type guy. Look, he's a tryhard, and I honestly think he produced better than Rashawn Gary. Not the same potential, but produced, I would say, better. And he is a lot more technique savvy than Rashawn Gary is. So you got a try-hard guy with a limited ceiling, but you know what? Those guys flourish in New England. So you're talking about playing that elephant position, being able to move him around. I really think Chase is going to do well. I mean, I just think all these number of guys they've had, like Calvin Noy, they had Marsh, I forgot his first name, like Clayus Marsh, whatever his name is. Of course, you had Mike Vrabel. Yeah, Willie McGinnis, but Willie was more of a big-time player. But you get a lot of these guys that I feel like he fits that mold, but has a little bit more talent than they did. Not Willie McGinnis, but Damon Harris, another, very much reminds me of Sony Michel. And just really a north and south runner. Does remind me of a Patriots-type running back. So I like that pick. And then you get Yande Kajuste, who was one of my favorite tackles as well. And so him going in the third round, I thought he might go a little higher, but the offensive line was real weird in this draft. And so I think Kajuste could potentially be the best tackle out of the whole draft. And so going to the Patriots, he's got that run blocking mentality. He knows how to get low and drive. I think he's really going to do some good things with New England. So overall, I think New England put that third round to work with some really good players. And Damon Harris might have went a lot higher than some people thought, but that's just definitely, with that many picks, you could take a flyer, but also that's a Patriots type player. And Jarrett Stidham out of Auburn, definitely a prototypical quarterback. I don't know if he'll ever make any waves there, but interesting pickup for him. So, yeah, man, I really like this draft. I mean, and the Patriots continue. They know when they only need to pick 3 players in the draft. They know when they need to load up on players in the draft. And so you can't really, you can't really knock what they do. And so I think they'll find a home for all these players in their system, and if they're not, then they're gonna kick them to the curb. That's just how it goes. All right, so lastly, New York Jets. You starting off with Quentin Williams, who I think was the best player in this draft. Teaming him up with Leonard Williams. I don't know the contract situation, so I don't know if Leonard's been re-signed or if he's getting ready to negotiate. But if they're going to end up keeping those two long term, man, that's going to be a heck of a D-line. And I know there was talk about them moving to an even front, so that would just be even more monstrous. I mean, Q has the potential to be a little watered down version of Aaron Donald. I only say watered down because Aaron Donald is an athletic freak. The man has a six-pack. Q's not that type of athlete, but man, he's explosive for his size. So absolutely love that pick. I mean, and when you're a team that's picking number 3, you got a lot of issues to patch up. Why not go with one of the best players? Then they get Polite in the 3rd round. more of where I saw him. A lot of people talked about first. Didn't see him as a first round pick. And so they get him in the third round. And I wonder, I don't know, because maybe they're going to be using multiple fronts, which makes sense. But if they're not, I don't see Polite being a defensive end in the even front. So maybe he's going to be moved around into nickel situations until they could figure out if they could use him as a linebacker or what. But he's not built. He's not built to play DN in the NFL. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people were excited about him. And again, I see the physical tools, but I didn't see any of the actual technique and traits there. So I'll be interested to see what they end up doing with him. He's not one of my favorite players, but you know, they're trying to put that defense together with Jamal Adams. They brought in CJ Mosley. You got the Williams, they're not brothers, but you got the two Williams in the middle. I mean, they're putting their chips in on that side of the ball. All right, so that is it for me. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about your team's draft. Any players in particular you like, players you don't like. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around, get the conversation started. And thank you for listening.